So you want to be a data analyst. Chances are you've been sent the link for this video via LinkedIn or something similar, so welcome. I'll talk a little bit about the career you aspire to, and I'll give you some tips on how to get there. So what does a data analyst need in terms of skills? Well, the key skills for data analysis are Excel, SQL, and the data visualization tools such as Power BI, Tableau, or Click. Truth is, you can do data analysis using just Excel, although your career options might be a bit limited, but Excel is the most foundational skill for data analysis. It's been around literally for decades and it's a universally used piece of software. It is a classic. SQL is the next skill to add, and I'll address that in more detail in a minute. And having a skill in something like Power BI would make you a great candidate for any role as a data analyst, BI analyst, or Power BI developer. So data analysis, well, what is it? Well, data analysis is all about taking data and analysing it. Fairly obvious, you might think. So you begin with raw data, and sometimes you need to do some data cleaning or cleansing on that data. So you can do that in Excel or in SQL, and it's all about finding and filling gaps, fixing erroneous data, getting rid of what's technically known as crap, that's an expression you'll get used to, locating inconsistencies and finding a thing called outliers, which is segments of data that are so high or low compared to the average that they can effectively be ignored. Also, a major part of working as a data analyst is finding patterns or trends in data. So you need a good eye for that sort of thing and a good eye for detail, be able to spot data that looks out of place or just plain wrong. Data analysis is also about creating insights, that's conclusions drawn from the data that you've identified. If sales of product A have dropped off a cliff and sales of product B have gone through the roof, then highlight this and demonstrate it. This is a very simplistic example, but hopefully you get the drift. The next thing a data analyst will concern themselves with is creating visualizations. That's charts, graphs, dashboards, reports, and that might be in Excel or something like Power BI or Tableau. The point of this exercise is to display the data in a way that people all throughout an organization can understand. Now these may be static, or they could be interactive, where you have clickable elements and drill throughs. Sometimes it's just a sheet of numbers. But you need to generate something that will appeal to your audience and be most beneficial. So you need to be able to adapt to different needs. Finally, it's about presenting data largely to non-technical people, so it helps if you're comfortable speaking to people, often senior people, and going through your findings, explaining charts and graphs and data, and answering in-depth questions, thinking on your feet. The presentation element isn't always a feature of the role of a data analyst. It varies from place to place, but be prepared for that. Okay, so what I've been talking about here is a very high level overview of data analysis, and there's lots more to it than that, but those are the basics. Now, data analysis is an important job. These days, businesses are relying more and more on detailed business intelligence to make critical commercial decisions. So it's kind of driving business, or at the very least informing the decision makers, and that's why it's a well-paid job, because it's an important job. So if you've made a decision to follow a career in data analytics, then you've made a great choice. It's an important and growing industry, and it's not going away. Now, I'm not a data analyst. I never have been, and I don't particularly aspire to be, but I do know what tools data analysts use, and it's those things I mentioned earlier: Excel, SQL, and a data visualization tool. Okay, so I'm not going to help you with Excel or Power BI. Put simply, it's not my bag. SQL, though, most definitely is my bag. So how do you learn SQL? Well, the good news is that it isn't really massively complicated. I could write down every SQL command I've ever used or even heard of on one side of a piece of A4 in 36-point font. So it's not a huge subject, but you do need to learn it in the right way. And that means starting at the beginning with the simplest stuff and building up bit by bit. It's about learning the commands and techniques, and adding to previous knowledge and getting in plenty of practice. You need to be shown where to begin and which order in which to approach the various topics. It's very easy to get sidetracked by something that looks interesting and then get overwhelmed. So it's very beneficial to have a good, solid plan. But here's another thing with SQL, and this is something people don't really talk about, because you need to learn how to problem solve, and that, in my opinion, is maybe 50% of what makes a good SQL programmer, developer, coder, whatever you want to call it. So here's an example. You have a data set containing names and dates of birth. HR have asked for an extract to show when people's next birthday is. So how do you do that? What we're looking for is a set-based solution. That means a formula or calculation you can apply to every row in a data set to work out from someone's date of birth what is their next birthday. This is an SQL problem, but it's also a logic challenge. Now that SQL tutorial that you found on YouTube, Coursera or Udemy will tell you how to use the various functions and coding commands that you'll need. But how do you know which commands that you'll need? How do you know what is the logic you need to apply to a date of birth to end up with the date of a person's next birthday? Now, a good problem solver is the one who understands the logic behind the required calculation, and therefore which commands to use, how to use them, what order in which to use them, and actually what to do with them. Okay, so I'll give you the solution. Okay, it goes like this. First, you need to work out their current age. So for me, as I record this, my birthday is in a couple of days. So currently I'm 50 years old. Yeah, I know, I don't look it. So I can work out my age from my date of birth. It's the number of full years between my date of birth and today, 50. And you can use that, you can do that using functions like dateDiff in SQL Server, or months between in Oracle, and then do that calculation to turn it into years. So I then take that age, 50, and add 1, 51. I then go back to my date of birth and add 51 full years. Or in SQL Server I'd use the dateAdd function to add that date of birth, 51 years, and now I have the date of my next birthday. Okay, so you see, it's hopefully simple and obvious to you when I explain it like that. But that ability to problem solve and figure out the logic doesn't come from online SQL training or courses. It comes from learning from a person like me who deals with that sort of problem every day. It requires a bit of sideways thinking and the application of logic. That's everyday logic, the sort of thing you learn from being challenged to deal with proper real-world data problems. So I guess what I'm saying is, when you're learning SQL, you have two options. You can go it alone, or you can do it with help. Going it alone means doing some online course or watching YouTube videos. These might be free or fairly cheap, or you can do a boot camp, which will cost you an arm and a leg and a load of time. Don't do a boot camp. They exist only to generate profit. These other courses will teach you how to use SQL, in so much as they will teach you how to write the code, but you'll have to manage your own learning path, your own time, self-motivate, look things up when you get stuck, and basically do it all yourself. This process works if you have the determination, discipline, drive and focus to do all that, and if that's you, then good luck. You won't learn how to problem solve, but you'll learn all the syntax and good coding practices. And while that approach works for some, a lot of people need a bit of extra help, and doing it with help is where I come in. Now, I run a program which helps people get started on the road to being a data analyst, among other careers that use SQL. And briefly, I do 4 things. I help people figure out exactly what they need to learn for their target role. Some roles don't require a fully in-depth knowledge of SQL. Data analysis is one that needs a basic to intermediate level. So we'll chat that over on a call and make you a plan. Next, number 2, I teach SQL, and this is a mixture of one-to-one calls, group coaching and Q&A sessions, all backed up with a suite of video tutorials presented by me. I teach the subject, set a challenge, then present a solution in each lesson. I focus heavily on real-world examples of the sort of challenges you'll face in actual jobs. That's the problem solving I referred to earlier. That's what you don't get with online courses. Thirdly, I look how to apply for jobs. So using a platform like LinkedIn is the best plan, and I'll help you build a good, strong profile and a network of industry contacts and show you how to apply for roles. It's not just about hitting quick apply and then waiting for a call. It has a next step, which is all about messaging and getting yourself known, and that step is critical. And then finally, step 4, I'll get you ready for technical SQL interviews. Now these can be daunting if you're not prepared, so I'll show you how these are structured. I'll show you some actual interview questions from my past history of sitting in over 100 technical interviews, and we'll create a strategy for you and we'll do some practice. When I've finished with you, you'll have excellent SQL skills and at appropriate level for the career you're aiming for. You'll have a LinkedIn profile that not only showcases your skills and experience, but actually attracts recruiters to contact you offering role opportunities. And you'll have all the tools, knowledge, skills and experience needed to ace the technical interview. There's information and links in the description of this video about how to contact me and book a call to chat it over. There is no obligation. It's not going to be a big sales call. Okay, it's just to see if you're a good fit for the program, if the program is a good fit for you. Okay, and if it is, then we'll talk about maybe getting you signed up. But I'm not a pushy salesman at all, 100%. Listen, my passion is helping people like you get a foothold in the data industry. I'm a disruptor for this exact process. I'm trying to turn the whole thing upside down and smash the barriers to entry, and that's because it needs good people with good skills, and I'm trying to make that happen. Okay, thanks for watching and listening, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.